Hello and welcome back to the Penno Channel. The Premier League's back, so I thought it was time to come back. I'm here to talk about Aston Villa versus Newcastle in the Premier League tomorrow, 12:30 on Saturday. We're back. It's been a long summer. Kind of left this for the summer, thought we'll come back just before the start of the season, and here we are the night before the first game of the season, back on the Penno Channel. As always, if you could like, subscribe, and please comment on the video as well. Love to see your thoughts going into the huge game against Newcastle tomorrow. Yeah, we're back. Hope everyone's had a good summer, rested. What do you think about Villa's summer so far? Has it been as busy as we thought we might be? There's been a lot going on in terms of off the field, but in terms of incomings, maybe hasn't been as busy as we'd have expected so far. But obviously, there's still a few weeks to go, and we can look ahead to that and see what happens there. Just going to go. Mr. Green says we're back. Yes, we're back, Mr. Green. Thank you for joining. Deontay also says, "Hey, Penno, hope you're doing well." I'm doing great, mate. Thanks for joining as well. Also, a few in here, which I really appreciate. So yeah, Ads can't make it tonight, but he will be back for future episodes as well. But let's get into this then. Massive game tomorrow. Huge game to start things off. It's always a massive game. We all remember what happened at St James's Park two seasons ago. And we all know that usually in this game, one team gets battered. Obviously, not yet announced, but soon to be announced. Jacob Ramsey has gone to Newcastle for a reported 40 million fee. So that adds a little extra spice to the game. He won't be available to play tomorrow because he hasn't been registered in time. But even with him going across to Newcastle, that adds a little extra spice. But as I said, let's go back to Villa and what we've done really. The only big signing is Guessand coming in from Rennes for £30 million. A player who can, play across the front three. Hasn't had a full 90 as of yet, or a lot of minutes in pre-season. He's came on twice. He came on against both Marseille and Villarreal. But no doubt he'll be ready. He'd been doing pre-season for Rennes as well. So I look forward to him. I think, my opinion, he's the profile we've been looking for. A player who's great with defensive actions, who can play across the front three, really good on the ball, can progress the ball forward with running with the ball, and he has a good shot on him. So it's a great asset to have. But yeah, we'll see how he goes. I don't know if he starts tomorrow. We'll get into tomorrow in the lineup, but he definitely comes on and he definitely gets minutes tomorrow. So yeah, looking forward to that as well. I hope you guys in the chat are either going tomorrow or you will be watching. Mr. Green said, "I'm happy with it, to be honest. We've kept our best players and Guessand is a baller." Facts, and that's the big thing regarding the window so far. We've managed to keep our players. Obviously, going into it, we saw Martinez crying against Spurs, the last home game of the season last season. That, to me, I felt that all but confirmed that he was off. But it seems as if Emi Martinez will be staying. Whether that's because Villa haven't received a fee that they consider, if there's been an offer for him or not. But as we head towards the end of the window, over the next few weeks, I can't see Emi Martinez leaving. I think he stays now. There was a lot of talk of Ollie Watkins again with Man United, Newcastle. We'll talk about Newcastle in a bit, but they, with Isak's situation, then potentially looking at other strikers. There's talk of that, but I think Ollie Watkins stays as well, which is good for me. I think Ollie Watkins this pre-season has looked like the man. He looks on fire. He looks ready to go. Bagged 5 in 5, and I think he can get 20 goals in the Prem this season. I really do. We know how Ollie is. Usually when he has competition, he doesn't play to his full potential. Now, I don't know whether that's psychological, but it just seems the case. Danny Ings was an example. John Duran was starting to get minutes over him as well. Someone who was really pushing him. It doesn't really work for him as such. But last season, coming into the season, he came off the back of the Euros. He was injured, so he'd had minimal rest, and he was injured, so he wasn't sharp. He wasn't at 100% fitness. This season now, he looks like he's fresh. He's had a good rest. He went on holiday, he got married, he's come back, and in pre-season he looks absolutely on it and scoring 5 in 5. Yeah, I back Ollie to have a great season. Something similar to not last season but the season before. He looks on it, and with the World Cup coming on at the end of the year as well, yeah, back him to do well for us this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does score tomorrow. I really wouldn't. I think he's going to go into the season on fire, flying. But yeah, Cairo's joined. Thanks for joining. Cairo says welcome back. Yeah, we're back here now. Thanks for joining, mate. Yeah, so Villa's summer overall, as we've seen over, I think today, really reports have broke out. I think we understood that, you know, Villa were going to be in a difficult scenario. It was going to take Villa to sell players, to get new players in, just because of, we went for it. We're struggling with PSR, as was. We obviously have SCR to contend with as well, which is the squad cost ratio with UEFA. Earlier on, a few months ago, we signed a commitment with UEFA, which we can't break over the next three seasons, which we have to comply with. So it was always going to be difficult to work around that. Players had to go. We had to get a wage bill down. And we haven't quite got rid of the players I think we would have liked to as of yet. Whether that be clubs not having the funds to sign those players. You've seen a lot of deals these days being loans with not even obligations to buy, but options to buy, because clubs just don't have the money to spend. They're happy to take the player and they'll take some part of the wages, but they just can't pay the fee. So I think going towards the end of the window, we'll see a few players from Villa who will be going out on loan. Not just academy players, you know, not just youth players as such, but players, you know, who have a bit more standing in the game, a bit more experience. I can see them going on loan as well, and potential obligations, but more than likely options taking place, just because it's hard. It's hard for clubs at this moment in time in this climate. If you don't get the revenue in, it's hard. Abroad, clubs don't really have the money like that, and in the Premier League, there's only 6 clubs really who can spend like that. So yeah, I think it's been a difficult summer all in all. Probably more difficult than we thought as fans, to be honest. We thought we could move more players towards the start of the window. Hasn't been the case. What I have faith in, might be blind, is that, you know, we have a Spanish contingent here, and usually Spanish clubs, they really start to operate towards the end of the window. Now, last few summer windows especially, we've been synonymous with doing our business early. You think of the window with Coutinho coming in, Diego Carlos, Boubacar Kamara, and then the next one, Yuri Tillemans coming in early as well. We usually do our business quite early and get our players in, but this one, it seems to have been difficult. And yeah, it will just be wait and see. It really will be wait and see, because today it looks like Jacob Ramsey is going to be going tomorrow. Looks like that's going to be signed and sealed. Reports coming out that Villa potentially won't be able to reinvest any of the Jacob Ramsey money. And I think that's on the basis of, not that we can't do it because the money's just got to go somewhere. I think the money can be paid, but because of SCR and the ratio balance for the wages as such, we've got to get players off our books. We've got to get our wages down for anyone to come in. It's not even about the cost of signing the player as such, because that revenue from Ramsey will help towards that. It's more about, we need to get our wage bill down, and that's the difficult part, because there's a lot of players on big money who Villa don't want on their books, i.e. Leander Dendoncker being a perfect example. No one's going to pay a fee for Leander Dendoncker, I don't think. I think he runs out his contract, and what it will be is, as last season, another loan where a club will take on a significant amount of his wage and his salary. So it's been a tough window, and I can see it being that, you know, for the next few, because we've just got to comply with UEFA. If we're in UEFA competitions, we can't. You know, the big repercussion of that is you can get a ban from Europe for 3 years if you don't comply with the commitments Villa have made. So yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough window going towards the end of it, but hopefully there are a few clubs who have interest. There's obviously rumours around Leon Bailey, Besiktas, Roma. That's really, you know, Emi Buendia, but as we look through pre-season, it seems as if Emi Buendia may have some part to play in this Villa squad. He went on loan to Bayer Leverkusen in January. He's come back. He's played a lot of minutes in pre-season, and he's done his part at the moment. Emi Buendia, for me, he has all the ability, but he frustrates because sometimes he just tries too much at times. Can work to his advantage, but sometimes I feel like he just could play it safer, could be better on the ball. But when he's on it, Emi Buendia is a really good player. But yeah, that was a player that seemed to be surplus to requirements, but now he's potentially back in the squad. Obviously, Alex Moreno as well, another one. I've seen links. There's always links to him going to Betis, return to Betis, or going somewhere else. We'll see if that develops. But yeah, this window's been a tough one, and you've got. I think that's shown the Ozcan deal is one of those that sticks out. I mean, I know we're signing players, with potential who are young, to potentially send them on and sell them at a profit. But that one just didn't make sense to me. We signed him for 7 million. He's played so many professional games. He's played for Turkey. He's got called up for Turkey, and at 19, he felt as if he was actually going to be integrated into the squad. And then now we see him going out on loan, and the club having an obligation to buy him. It just doesn't quite make sense. That one, considering we had Kostas come in, and he's gone on to Leipzig, and he's gone back to Leipzig again on loan, and they'll probably sign him off the back of that. So yeah, there's a few things within the strategy that don't quite make sense to me. We'll have to see how it plays out, obviously. But yeah, it's been a tough window. It has been a tough window. But the big thing is, Boubacar Kamara signed a new contract. That's massive. We've managed to keep him. Huge. He's one of our best players, so that was massive. Outside of that, as I said, keeping the likes of Martinez, Watkins. If we can't get anyone in who's going to be better, then you've got to keep those players. Luka Dean signed a new contract as well with reduced wages. There's potentially contracts going forward for Yuri Tillemans and others. So keeping your best players is a massive one. We've seen bids, inquiries as such for John McGinn, other players as well. The value's not quite matching up. But to keep the core of the squad here is good. And I think Guessand would be a good signing as well. A few more comments in here before we get onto the game itself. Flange said, good to have you back, Penno. Thanks for watching, Flange. I really appreciate the support. It is good to be back indeed. Paul's joined as well. Thanks for joining, Paul. He says, hi, Penny. How are you doing? I think Jackson is on his way to Villa. Thanks, Paul. I'm doing great, thank you. Had a really nice summer. Relaxed. Didn't really think about football too much. The odd bits of Villa here and there. But yeah, I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to go back to Villa Park and see the Villa boys for sure. Around Jackson again, there was a story saying he fancies come to Villa. I don't know how much trust I have in those sources as such, but again, with our financial restraints, it would take a big sale for me to even think we'd consider Jackson, just because of the salary and the cost as well. Yeah, I can't see that one happening, to be honest. Flanders said, what's your feeling in regards to Asensio? So Asensio's, it's tough because when he's on it, Asensio is quality. He's quality when he's on it. And we saw that for the first, I think it was 7 games. His GA was right up there. I think the last 11, he had great games, like Spurs game. I remember he was quality in that, but his numbers dwindled off. He didn't get no GA from that point. The age of Asensio, he's 30 now. That isn't old, but you have to consider, injuries as such. Are they going to be starting every week? What's their value to the club? It's not worked out well with Coutinho. I'm not saying they're like for like as such, but Coutinho was coming off a big club, coming to Villa, initial loan spell, signed permanently, and then, we only just got him off our books this summer. Asensio, even though I think he has a bit more than Coutinho had at that age, I think he has a bit more in his body. He can still play. There's always that worry and that risk, just because he'll be one of the higher earners within the club. And if we do sign him on a permanent, if that is feasible at this point for 3 years, then that would be my worry. Now, obviously, his contract comes to an end next year, so you'd like to think we'd get him back on loan again. If the club can see and manage the salary, if it's feasible and they find it feasible, because we're going to have to be extra tight now. What with PSR and SCR, we have to be, the books have to be pristine. If they think that's a viable option, then it's tough. It is a tough one, because he's a good player. He would help us, but looking forward, planning in 3 years down the line, it would signing Asensio now be the best option. I'm not sure on that. But for the here and now, he would definitely add to the squad, and obviously he'd have an impact. We saw it in games against Chelsea, Bruges, home and away, the Spurs game, in others as well, in the FA Cup games as well. He has an eye for goal. His XG's right up there in terms of players across Europe. If you put him in front of goal with a good chance, as long as it's not a penalty, he was more than likely going to get it on target, and he's going to score as well. But yeah, I think Asensio coming in definitely depends on someone going, someone leaving, whether that is an Emi Buendia. You know, it's kind of a like-for-like similar position. But yeah, we'll see regarding Asensio. I wouldn't be surprised if he does come back. That's for sure. Paul says, I think PSR and UEFA need to change rules because it's downing clubs to compete. Surely our owners can take them to court now. This is unfair. They're targeting Villa all the time. Penno, I mean, when you see stuff regarding the Malta ball system today from the Premier League and Villa being fined 125 grand for something, it's just a ridiculous rule in essence. You do kind of feel there's some vendetta as such. I mean, the rules are, everyone has to comply to them. We broke UEFA's rule last season, so this is why we're having to make these further commitments. Us and Chelsea are two clubs that are having to do that. The gripe is, I think the gripe is with Villa fans, and me personally, is you see City and Chelsea in their history had the opportunity to build the revenue they're at now, not complying to rules that a Villa and a Newcastle are having to comply to. Nowhere near. They had that opportunity to build their revenue by investing and pumping loads and loads of money in season after season, with no, there's no negative output from that. And that's what's got them to the stages they are now and the clubs they are now. It wasn't organic at all. Loads of money was pumped into those clubs. Now, you don't want every club to be able to do that, but you want some leeway. You want the competition to be fair, but you want clubs who want to progress, who are actively looking to progress, who have owners who have the funds available to progress, have zero debt. When there's clubs with billions of pounds of debt, okay, they have really high revenue, but you want to have the ability to, invest your money. If any other business, you can invest your money. It's only football where you get held back as such. And PSR being a rule that was implemented many years ago on a foundation of, 105 million outlay, I think it's kind of, archaic as such, and it needs to be looked into. Now, I think that is going into next season. We'll see what happens from that, but I don't hold out any hope in the near future, to be honest. I think the grip the big six clubs have on this league, it does feel like it is a closed book, and you have to either you Leicester it and you just have one of those seasons, or you just have to play the long game and hope. And we do have put a lot into Unai Emery and what he's capable of as a manager, because not many managers would be able to stick around. Now, me saying that, do I think Villa have made some mistakes in the transfer windows since then? I do. I think there's some signings that you can question. It's not all been fantastic signings, not at all. There's some areas where you can say, could the money have been invested better? For sure. But I do think that the opportunity Chelsea's and the Man City's had, Villa and Newcastle are getting nowhere near those opportunities to invest the money. They're just not, because there are restrictions at all. And you have to be so much better as a club, so much better, so much more well run to even have hope of bridging it in terms of revenue. You really do. And it's going to take years. And you have to keep hitting Europe, being in Europe, and keep building your brand, trying to get more revenue into the club. So, yeah, it's a tough one. Will they change the rules? I don't know. I don't hold out. I just think we've got to somehow just keep doing what we're doing and hopefully keep progressing and just being smarter in our windows, being smarter with the salaries we're giving to players. Because I have more faith in us doing that than the rules being changed. But that's my opinion. Hopefully there is some changes, a bit more freedom. But I don't know. I think the big six, especially for PSR and within our league itself, UEFA as such is much bigger. Obviously, it's Europe, but within our league, I think the top clubs have quite a grip on it. Yeah. So Newcastle find themselves, struggling in a similar manner. Like last summer, the last few windows, to be honest, for them, they haven't signed actual first team starters. They've been signing squad players as such. And even this window, really, Anthony Elanga, I think they brought in Foy. He potentially could become a starter. I don't know. JJ's not guaranteed starter at all, but he's obviously, we know what JJ is capable of. JJ, if he's on it, was part of our best side at times last season, so it could be for them as well. So yeah, this season's just another big season. For me, out of this season, I just love us to win a trophy. I just want us to win a trophy. After the heartache from Palace, that Palace game really got to me in the semi-final in the FA Cup because I thought it was a really good opportunity. And as we saw in the final, Palace turned up and Man City just weren't the Man City of the last few seasons. There was an opportunity to go out there and win it, and congratulations to Palace. They fully deserved it. But it felt like that was our chance. That was really our chance, and we kind of blew it. Albeit the same in the Conference League as well. That the season before, 2 semi-finals now where we've not really turned up. We've not turned up. So we hope the Europa League, Unai Emery's competition, is the chance. We really do, and that's what I want to see, man. I want to see us lift the trophy. Yeah, that's the big one for me. If we can do that and get back into Europe, well, if we win the Europa League, we're back in the Champions League anyway. Obviously, I'd still want us to have a competitive league season, but if it got to the point we're in the quarterfinals of the Europa League and we're potentially mid-table, Europa League, go all out, like Spurs did, like Manchester United did. They both went all out. They both got to the final, and only one team could win from that point. And now Spurs are playing Champions League football this season after the back of finishing, 14th and 15th, respectively, both of them. So, yeah, competitive in the league and win a trophy. That's what I want to see for us, definitely. And speaking of that, a team we're playing tomorrow, Newcastle, did exactly that. They won the League Cup. And they got Champions League football last season. They had a great season, a phenomenal season. If we had that sort of season, I'd be over the moon. So, yeah, that's what I want us to do. That's what I'd like us to do. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, going into the game tomorrow, 12:30 kick-off. Villa and Newcastle fans know about this game. One team gets battered, usually. It's usually the home side. But Newcastle season before, they did beat us at Villa Park. Was it 3-1? I think they were 3-0 up, and then Watkins scored. So, yeah, one team just usually gets a hiding in this game. Looking at it from Newcastle's perspective in the summer they've had, going into this season, they've had an up and down summer. As a Newcastle fan, you've been going through it this summer. When your star player turns around and says he doesn't want to play for the club anymore due to the fact that Liverpool are interested in signing him, when he has the contract commitments, is mad. It's mad. Could you imagine Ollie Watkins just saying that? If you have, Callum Wilson's they got released Callum Wilson, he's gone to West Ham. I think they're trying to get Johan Vissa, but that's not completed as of yet, so they have no backup striker as such. Anthony Gordon can play there, but that's not really his best position. So having that at the start of the season, you're going into a Champions League season off the back of the great season you had last year is trouble enough. That's you don't want that at all. On top of that as well, a number of their targets they haven't managed to complete the signings of. They've gone to other clubs. It's been a tough window for him. He's picked up, I think, the sign of the AC Milan defender and then it looks like Vissa, and then we'll see if Isak does inevitably go. Which I think that if he does go, they'll hold off because Liverpool play Newcastle next. So they'll hold off till after that game anyway. We'll see if they do bring in other striker. Jackson, Link, Samu, other strikers around. But they've had a tough summer as fans in terms of just ups and downs. Buemo rejection, kind of Cunha, Sesko, and there's other players as well that have just not been interested, or the deals haven't been done. So they've had a tough summer like us in that sense, considering we both finished 5th and 6th. And you look at the 4 sides above us, the windows they've had, and then you look at Spurs and Man United and the windows they're having. It's tough to see. It is tough to see. But the two clubs are trying to push in, and they're trying to break that so-called top 6, and they both haven't had the summers they'd like to have had in a perfect world. But yeah, Newcastle tomorrow, they'll have no Isak. As I said, he's refusing to train. He's training, but he's training by himself. He's refusing to be a part of the side, which is insane. And big for us, obviously, because he's a quality player. So yeah, who do I see? I see Anthony Elanga starting tomorrow. He's a big signing that they've made. They had Almiron and Jacob Murphy playing off the right for the past few seasons. Now, Almiron had that one sporadic period for half the season where he couldn't stop finding the back of the net, but really and truly, it wasn't to the standard of what they're trying to be. Jacob Murphy had an unbelievable season last season. He was incredible in terms of his numbers, just the intent he was playing with. He was a real standout player. Like, if there's most improved player award in the Premier League, I think Jacob Murphy definitely would have got that last season. Just came out of nowhere the season he had. He was really, really good. But again, they needed more, and I think Anthony Elanga, for the way Newcastle played, the way they want to transition, he's a good player for that. So I think that was a good signing for them. And then with that in mind, got to talk about it. They've now looking to complete the signing of Jacob Ramsey. And I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that as well, because Ramsey being one of our own, I've always held a lot of hope in Jacob Ramsey making it here and to the level that I knew he could be consistently. Injuries have been a massive factor. Since he broke his metatarsal for England playing in the Euros, the Under-21 Euros, he's just not been able to have the consistency, not at all. Under Steven Gerrard, I think he was the biggest shining light. Him and Boubacar Kamara were the shining lights out of that period in Villa history. Gerrard used to speak highly of Jacob Ramsey, saying the levels he could get to. I remember the goals he would score, the way he drives with the ball. He was really coming into his own. And even under Unai, that second half of that season when we got conference, Jacob Ramsey was pivotal in those games. The games against Spurs, Brighton, Liverpool away. He was really our standout player. So you felt then, okay, he's starting to get to that next level now. Then he got the injury that summer, struggled for fitness for the 2 seasons after that. He'd have moments where he'd come back into the side, have a good few games, get injured, and it's just not worked. Now, last season he played a bit more. He managed to stay a bit more injury-free. But again, I don't think he really got into the swing of things and to the level he can get to. So it will be interesting to see how he does get on at Newcastle. I think if he can remain fit, and with the way Newcastle play and the way he can drive with the ball and playing in that, I think he'll operate more in that left 8. I think his competition will be Joe Linton, Joe Willock as such as well. I don't see him operating off the left as much. No, he may play there because Anthony Gordon's playing striker and they've got Harvey Barnes there, but I think they'll look to play him as a left 8 more than anything, just because they play that free midfield, which is different to us. We play the left midfielder, so JJ can come inside. So it's different formations. But yeah, as Flange says, 40 million is a no-brainer. I think that's a great fee to get for him. It is a really good fee, but it's tough. It is tough. It's tough to see. I don't begrudge him. I know some Villa fans might. I don't begrudge him as such. We don't know what the conditions Villa offered him in terms of the contract offers that have been going on for the last six months. We don't know if we considered him more of a squad player. So that represented the salary. Newcastle might have. There was reports in the Athletic that stated that Newcastle and Eddie Howe considered him as a priority signing, top priority signing. The package that they'd offered him, Champions League football, they'd be playing next season as well, might have represented him being a priority target, which Villa might not have seen JJ as. It might not have seen him as like the level that Newcastle do, and that happens in football. So it's tough. It's tough when you see that, but we've got a good salary off the back of that. Sorry, good fee off the back of that, and yeah, we'll see how he goes over there. We'll see how he goes, because consistency is a big thing with JJ, and the last seasons, it just hasn't. The numbers haven't represented what they should do, and obviously injuries have played a part. But even when playing, there's times where I thought you could just do more. You can do a bit more. You have the ability to do more. And there was 1-2 games where he did show that, but just wasn't quite there yet for where he should be in his development. But yeah, I have no ill feeling. Some Villa fans might, and that's fair enough. But I have no ill feeling in regards to that. He can't play tomorrow, which I think is a good thing for all parties, to be honest. Because yeah, I think that's a good thing for him as well, because it's tough making your debut at the club you've literally just moved from. But yeah, we'll see how he goes at Newcastle for sure. We'll see how he goes. On to us and the game tomorrow then. Interesting in the sense that now JJ for me would have been one of our starters playing off the left. I think I would have thought the three would have been behind Watkins, would have been Ramsey, McGinn, Rodgers, Tielemans, Kamara playing behind. But now with Ramsey going, how do we line up now? What's the change? I think obviously Emi Martinez is suspended after the United game, and that United game kind of put a dampener on all of us, that game, and just what happened within that for the summer anyway, for the start of the summer. But Bizzle, keeper we signed, I think I've been impressed with the way he's played on the ball over pre-season. He was integral for Brest last season. They got through the Champions League into the knockout phases. They had a really good campaign within League Winners prior to that as well, which he was a part of. So I've been impressed with the way he plays with the ball. I think he's much better with his feet than Robin Olsen ever was. And I think he's made a few good saves as well. I feel a bit more confident. I don't want to jinx it going into tomorrow, but I feel a bit more confident with him in goal than I ever did with Robin Olsen. So he'll start tomorrow. I then think the back four is interesting again. I think Ash starts, even though Bogard I've been quietly impressed with in pre-season. I think he's done well at right back. Another season under his belt. But I do think Cash starts, Konza, and then the next two positions. Now, last season, I think Macton had one of his best games against Newcastle in that win we had, the 4-1 win. I thought it was fantastic. Got the goal as well. So I'd like to see Matson start again. I thought he played really well in that game. But it could be Luka Dean. That one's a tough one. It always seems a 50-50. And then is it Mings and Powell? I think Powell starts tomorrow. But again, won't I be concerned with Newcastle? Well, always that's rapid anyway, but even still now you're playing, if they're going to play Barnes, Elanga and Gordon, they might just sit in and transition, look to hit us on the break, let us have the ball, let us play into their half and just wait to break on us. We've struggled throughout seasons on transitions. Crystal Palace usually get us with that, with Ismail Assar. But yeah, that might be a consideration for Mings playing. But I think on the ball, Powell is integral with our build-up. I really do. Especially at home. I think when Powell plays at home, he just feels comfortable on the ball and dictates how he plays. So that one's, I think Powell starts, but I'm not surprised if Mings does. And I think Maatsen starts as well. I do think Maatsen starts, but again, I wouldn't be too surprised if Digne does. Moving on to the midfield now, which is tricky. So Watkins obviously starts up front, but then what's this five behind? I think it's going to be Yuri and Kamara. But then does Onana come in? Does Yuri play further forward in the 10? Then have McGinn and Rodgers on the wings. Looks like Rodgers is fit and available. He's been training, so I'm just classing Morgan Rodgers as being available and starting. There's options. Does Emi Buendia come in? And obviously Onana not start, and then you have Kamara, Tillemans, McGinn, Rodgers, and Buendia just playing off Watkins. Or do we see Evan Guessand get a start? I know that's a bit left field as such, but he played enough in both the pre-season games. He's had a week of training, and I like what he offers. The thing with Guessand, which is good as well, is Emi, when he plays, he'll try and press. He'll try and get about the pitch. He can play in the shape that Unai likes, but Guessand's pressing numbers are really good. His defensive actions are really good as well. He's in the high percentile for those actions in terms of tackling and the pressing, especially at Rennes. So I think that was one of the key reasons we signed him. And one of the big things from pre-season was how aggressive our press was at times. And if we're looking to implement that, I don't know if we will do against Newcastle, because that might play into their hands the way the transition such. But against other teams, Guessand might be a reason for his signing, because how quickly he presses, so we can press more aggressively with him playing. One player I haven't mentioned, obviously, is Daniel Marlin as well. Like, another option. I just don't think Marlin starts. I can't see him starting tomorrow. Just because Marlin sometimes, in our defensive shape, he kind of gets lost in it. He doesn't engage on the right in the press. He doesn't engage at the right times. He can sometimes be off, and that's why I think he didn't start many games for Unai last season, because he didn't really trust him in his defensive actions or his positioning. That's how I really thought. So, yeah, that will be interesting. Let me know who you think will start in that kind of playing off Watkins. Obviously, Rodgers can play in the middle, but then who plays out wide? Leon Bailey as well, but I don't think Leon Bailey plays tomorrow. I think he might be closer to leaving the club than he was a few days ago. So yeah, that will be interesting. I think there might be an outside chance that Guessand gets a start. There might be an outside chance. If not, I just can't see Yuri moving further forward, because Unai likes him deep. He likes him receiving the ball deep, so he can play through the lines. Obviously, Boubacar Kamara can do that as well, but having both of them do that is big for us in playing in that box. Yeah, it's interesting. I could see Morgan off the left, and then potentially McGinn off the right, Guessand, Watkins, or because Guessand's so versatile, he could play left, right, or behind Watkins. Those, McGinn, Rodgers, and Guessand are so interchangeable. They've all played in all three of those positions. So, yeah, it will be interesting. I don't think Buendia starts, but again, I wouldn't be surprised with that, because he started a number of games in pre-season as well. And then I don't think Marlon starts. I just don't think he starts. And I can't see Yuri playing further forward and us playing Onana and Kamara. But that is another option as well. But yeah, I think that's the big omission, because if Ramsey was still here, I think Ramsey would start, because we did play a number of times with Ramsey, Rodgers, McGinn. Just a few comments in here from other games as well. Timebridge has joined. Thanks for joining. Liverpool didn't convince me. City might be back. Yeah, the Liverpool game, great game of football. It just shows the Premier League is one of the best leagues in the world. For the opening game, Bournemouth to come back. Anton Semenyo, what a player he is. He's a player I'd love at Villa to play off the right. Unbelievable player. But yeah, great game, and Liverpool came through in the end, but weren't convincing defensively. I agree. I agree with that. Credo says, thanks for joining. Credo says the world's number 2. Is that what we're calling Bizzo now? Or are we still referring to Robin Olsen? I did see he played in, I think it was a Champions League qualifier for Copenhagen. He didn't have the best game in that. I think they got beat 5-0. But Yeah, no more Robin Olsen. Tony Timebridge also says he's Jacob Ramsey's sick note. He wasn't as much last season. I think he managed 29 games in the league. Now, obviously not all starts, but some appearances as well. But the 2 seasons prior to that, he couldn't stay fit. He just couldn't stay fit. Now, whether it was the reoccurrence of his metatarsal injury or other just niggles and injuries in that period, he couldn't stay fit. And that was in a period, let's not forget, when he was playing in the Euros under 21s, he was one of the star players in the side that had Morgan Rogers, Anthony Gordon, Cole Palmer, Emil Smith-Rowe, Andre Gomez, Curtis Jones. Like that. Look at some of the careers those players are having today. And JJ was one of the big players in that side, one of the players they relied on. So he hasn't quite had the trajectory, of, say, even like a Morgan Gibbs-White. He's now Anthony Gordon, Cole Palmer, but he still has the ability if he can remain fit and consistent. Also, Tony Timebridge says, we will start without a striker. Yeah, I think you're going to play Gordon as a 9, which he did a number of times last season. That pace is a concern if we're not switched on. Barnes, Gordon and Elanga, that's a lot of pace on transition. So we'll have to be switched on. I don't think we'll revert back to playing high. I think that was 2 seasons ago now. I think we'll sit a bit deeper, but we just have to watch that because Chelsea last season and Palace last season at Villa Park did that really well. For Chelsea first half, they didn't have I remember they had no Nicholas Janssen, he was suspended. So Pedro Neto played as a 9 and they literally played the ball over the top and were trying to spin in behind us. And in that first half, they could have scored a few doing that. They caused us real problems. And I think Newcastle will look to do the same with those 3 in attack. So that's something the defence will have to be mindful of. Credo says also Morgs needs to play through the middle. I agree. I think Rodgers is best positioned through the middle. Better off the left than the right. Maybe the counter argument to that is we won our form towards the end of last season was when the best form we had of the season was when Morgan Rogers was playing off the right. But I agree. I think it hinders him a bit. When he plays to the middle, he's allowed to drive with the ball. And, he can be more of a maverick in his actions. But, yeah, I do agree with that. But I don't know if we'll see him through the middle. Yeah, I don't. It depends. It depends who's starting. I think what Unai likes is a lot of the players now that we have in the forward positions are just interchangeable. They can play in a number of positions. Morgan Rogers being one of those as well. Yeah, Tony says also Semenyo was unreal. Facts, he was unbelievable. That goal he scored was incredible. What really good player and someone I'd love at Villa. So yeah, I think that'll be the side tomorrow. I think Newcastle, they'll go with Pope, Livramento. I don't think Botman's ever fit and available, so it'd be Sharburn. Lewis Hall's back now. I think he's fully fit and back. Then they'll play Joe Linton if he had a slight niggle, but I think he might be available. So it'd be Joe Linton, Tonali, Guimaraes, and then Barnes, Gordon, Elanga. So it's still a very good side, even without Sven Botman and Alexander Isak. It's still a very good side, and it will be a difficult task. And as I said, it always seems like one team gets spanked. So we'll see who turns up tomorrow, but we'll have to go into this one looking for 3 points, definitely. And I think we're more than capable of that. And, we just have to watch out for Newcastle's pace on transition. We really will. What Villa did really well last season is we won the midfield battle. We were really good in midfield that day. Tonali, Guimaraes and Joe Linton couldn't get near us. We were really good. One thing that they did have last season, Lewis Hall was injured that game. And Lewis Hall offers a different dynamic at left back. I think Dan Burn moved over to left back that game, and then they played with Shaw and Botman. With Lewis Hall playing now, they have a different dimension. It means both on the right and the left, they can go forward. They have 2 fullbacks who can go in both directions. And Lewis Hall's got a great delivery on him as well. So that's a different aspect from Newcastle last season. But obviously, no, he's Alexander Isak. So yeah, we should be confident going into this one. Definitely should be looking to win and really get a great start to the season. I'm backing Ollie to score. I think the form he's showing, I think he bags and gets to, first game of the season, gets a Premier League goal. Sometimes Ollie starts a bit slow and he doesn't get his first goal that early. It takes a few games, but I think he looks so sharp in pre-season and he's really impressed me. I think there's a chance he does tomorrow. Really, really good chance he does tomorrow. Anyway, I think that's it. I just came on to have a chat. I know it's a late one, but I thought I'd get something out, see if who could join live. I appreciate you guys joining live as well, and the comments you've made. It makes it so much better, not just talking to a camera, but talking to you guys live. So I really appreciate that as well. And yeah, we'll be back now. Match previews, match reactions, and other videos as well. So please if you like the content, put the notification bell on as well. Subscribe. If you could give the video a like, I'd really appreciate it. And also comment your thoughts going into the game tomorrow, predictions, thoughts on the JJ transfer as well, because that involves both clubs. So thoughts on that transfer if you're Newcastle or Villa fan. And yeah, I'll see you at the match preview down to Villa Park tomorrow. Can't wait. And hopefully the Villa get the 3 points. Thank you all for joining, or the Villa, and I'll see you in the next episode.